Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Tonya Octave. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, a coach, and a hypnotherapist. And my journey into the world of psychoanalysis and psychodynamic theory really has shaped by a deep curiosity of the human mind, its hidden layers, unconscious drives, and the stories we carry just within us. I've always been drawn to exploring the whys behind human behavior, why we think, feel, act, why we do what we do, and sometimes, most of the time, without even realizing it. In a world that prioritizes these quick fixes and symptom management, psychodynamic theory really invites something different, a reflection, a deep understanding, and a transformation. It dares to ask why we repeat certain patterns, why we are drawn to familiar but often painful relationships, and maybe why unresolved wounds continue to shape our present. Today, I want to take you on a journey into the heart of psychodynamic approaches, exploring how they illuminate the depths of our experience and create pathways towards healing. So where do we begin? Well, before Sigmund Freud revolutionized the study of the unconscious mind, ancient civilizations were already engaged in deep psychological exploration, though they approached it through maybe philosophical approaches, spirituality, and even mysticism. These cultures may not have used terms like psychoanalysis or the unconscious or psychodynamic work, but their traditions reflect an awareness that unseen forces shape our human behavior. So let's look. In India, philosophical and spiritual traditions such as Hinduism and Buddhism kind of provided an intricate framework for understanding the psyche. Long before Freud's theories emerged, the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect, mirrors the psychodynamic idea that past experience, including those we may not consciously remember, shape our behavior, shape really our present behavior. So, other things to consider. Furthermore, might be yoga and meditation practices, exploring states of consciousness, self-reflection, the regulation of thoughts and emotions. Much like modern psychoanalytic techniques that encourage really this introspection. So let's think about maybe some of the teachings of Buddha, which really emphasize the role of the unconscious mind, chitta, the impact of suppressed desires, and the necessity of self-awareness in breaking free from suffering, a notion that resonates with psychoanalytic work on kind of repressed memories and unconscious drives. So let's go a little bit further back to the Greeks and our Greek philosophers. Too, they laid the groundwork for psychodynamic thinking. Plato's tripartite soul, where reason, logos or spirit, thymos, the desire, eros, those kind of terms kind of battle for control, really kind of mirrors Freud's later development of id, ego, and superego models. And then this Aristotle suggested that unresolved emotions influence behavior, an idea really kind of centered to modern theory or modern therapy. And then even Hippocrates, kind of the four humors theories, which linked emotional states to bodily imbalances and foreshadowing discussions on temperament and mental health. But let's not forget Socrates, who believed that the true wisdom begins with self-examination, a fundamental principle of psychoanalysis. Let's go back even a little bit further than that. The Egyptians also kind of engaged with deep psychological and spiritual ideas that prefigured psychoanalytic concepts. In Egyptian thought, the human soul was divided into multiple parts, most notably maybe the Ba, which is part of our personality, part of our psyche, the Ka, which is kind of like our life force, or energy. These distinctions suggest an early awareness of different aspects of human consciousness, much like Freud's structural model of the mind. Egyptian funerary texts, such as the Book of the Dead, contain reflections of self, reflections on the self, ideas and concepts about guilt, and the judgment of one's soul, which can be kind of compared to psychoanalysis focus on moral anxiety and a lot integrated in terms of the concepts with the superego. And moreover, Egyptians' healing practices incorporated things with dream interpretation, and really a cornerstone of Freudian's analysis work. Priests and healers viewed dreams as messages from the divine, offering insights into hidden truths and unresolved inner conflicts. Much like how psychoanalysis kind of explores symbolic nature of dreams to uncover unconscious material. These ancient civilizations show us that exploration of the mind, behavior, and unconscious motivations is not a new endeavor. While Freud may kind of have formalized it in some way, psychoanalysis is a scientific discipline. He was not the first to recognize the complexities of human thought and emotions. The wisdom of the past provides an important foundation for understanding just the origins of our modern psychodynamic approaches, proving that the journey to self-awareness is one that has been unfolding and unfolding for thousands of years. So while ancient civilizations connected mental distress to maybe spiritual disturbances, modern psychoanalysis kind of shifted the focus to an unconscious mind, early development, and maybe some internal conflicts. The transformation was led by key thinkers who sought to systematically explore the psyche, the roots of behavior, and the hidden forces that shape human experience. There, I'm going to say it, Sigmund Freud, often regarded as the father of psychoanalysis, really introduced the idea that the unconscious mind, the area of the hidden desires, those fears, those past experiences really play a crucial role in shaping behavior. Freud proposed a structural model of personality consisting of like our id, the primitive and instinctual parts of the mind, kind of driven by pleasure in his pleasure principle. And then the ego, which is the mediator between the id and reality, and the superego, and the moral compass shaped by societal expectations. To illustrate this, think about the last time that you were on a strict diet, but maybe you started to have a little bit of craving of chocolate, maybe some chocolate cake. The id screams, eat the cake right now. It will taste amazing and you will be satisfied. While the superego kind of scolds, no, you must stick to your diet and be disciplined. The ego is left to negotiate, perhaps deciding, I'll have to just maybe take a small bite. The internal battle is a classic example of Freud's theory at play. His work also introduced methods such as free association and dream analysis to really uncover these unconscious material, making a shift from spiritual interpretations of dreams to a more psychological approach. A fun fact, Freud believed that all dreams had hidden meanings, and he even analyzed his own dreams to gain insight into his unconscious conflicts. Ooh, I wonder what he discovered. But then with Freud, there's Freud's daughter. Oh, what a cute little baby. She is referred to as Anna Freud. And she really expanded his work, particularly in the realm of ego psychology and child analysis. She really further refined the concepts of defense mechanisms and explained how the ego adapts to internal conflicts. Let me give you an example. You may have, or have you ever really been very, very angry, just very mad at someone, but maybe you don't confront them. You find yourself maybe taking it out on someone else, being snappy with someone else. And then, Anna would kind of say, this is displacement. one of the many defenses that she identified. And unlike her father, Freud, who focused more on the unconscious drives, Anna Freud emphasized the ways in which the ego functions in reality, helping individuals to develop healthier coping mechanisms. And her contribution really laid the foundation for modern psychodynamic therapy, which focuses on strengthening the self and improving emotional regulation. Another influential figure when I think about psychodynamic theory would be Carl Jung. He diverged Freud's emphasis on repressed sexuality, and instead he kind of introduced the idea of a collective unconscious, a shared inherited layer of the psyche containing universal symbols, or kind of how it was described, archetypes, such as the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, things like that. Ever wonder why stories of a hero's journey, like those of Harry Potter or in Star Wars, like Luke Skywalker, resonate so deeply with people across all kinds of cultures? Jung would argue that these stories tap into our collective unconscious, where archetypes shape our understanding of the world, and his theory on individuation, the process of integrating unconscious elements into consciousness to achieve psychological wholeness, remains a core concept in analytical psychology and continues to be used in therapy today. Another thinker who kind of challenged some of Freud's views and perspectives was Alfred Adler. He developed individual psychology, and unlike Freud and Anna, he really emphasized social influences over unconscious drives, proposing that feelings of inferiority really motivate human behavior. His concept of the inferiority complex suggested that individuals strive for superiority and self-improvement to compensate for some perceived weakness. Think of the classic rags to riches kind of prototype. Many successful people like Oprah Winfrey or even Elon Musk have kind of spoken about overcoming hardships and using them as a motivation to succeed, a real life example of kind of Adler's ideas manifesting. Additionally, Adler introduced the idea that birth order influences personality traits, contributing to early discussions on family dynamics and self-perception, although Anna kind of did some family stuff too. She did a lot of family stuff. But have you ever noticed how firstborn children tend to be maybe more responsible, maybe more leadership driven? Maybe the younger siblings are a little often more rebellious. Adler's birth order theory suggests that these patterns emerge due to family dynamics and the roles that we adopt in childhood. And then there's later psychoanalytic theories such as Melanie Klein and Donald Winnicott, who really shift the focus from these internal drives into our relationships, giving rise to object relations theory. And their work really explored how early attachment experiences with caregivers shape the individual's emotional development, their sense of self, and interpersonal relationships. And I think it was Winnicott who may have introduced the idea of the concept of the good mother. But Klein also kind of elaborated on that and really kind of argued that a caregiver doesn't have to be perfect, but must provide sufficient emotional support for a child to develop a secure sense of self, right? And so a relatable example of how children developed it might be a favorite stuffed animal or a blanket for comfort. Winnicott kind of referred to this as a transitional object to really help, the child bridge the gap between dependence and independence. And so that would be kind of some of the thinking there. These major thinkings of psychoanalysis and psychodynamic theory really revolutionized the way that we understand the complexities of the mind. And while our ancient civilizations sought meaning through myth and ritual and spirituality, mysticism, psychoanalysis kind of added a different type of structure and framework for uncovering things in the unconscious mind, and understanding psychological distress through maybe more systematic techniques like free association, transference, interpretation, things like that. So, though modern psychodynamic therapy has evolved, incorporating insights from neuroscience, contemporary psychology, mystical psychology, quantum physics, nutrition, things from other areas, it lays the foundation to remain rooted in the work of these early pioneers. Probably with the exception of nutrition, because I don't think anybody included that. That is a solo addition from this clinician. One of the most profound developments in the field has been relational psychotherapy, which is my framework that I use when working with other people. Relational psychotherapy extends this psychodynamic thinking by emphasizing the healing occurs within relationships, particularly the therapeutic relationship. Like Freud's, original model, where the therapist remains a detached observer, relational psychotherapy understands that the clinician and the client really engage in a mutual dynamic exchange that involves the healing processes, really supports the healing processes too. This approach suggests that past relational wounds, whether from childhood caregivers, even romantic relationships or societal influences, get reenacted in present relationships. A little combination of Freud there, including the one between the therapist and the client. So by exploring these patterns in therapy, the individual gains insight into their relational world and really have an opportunity to experience a corrective emotional experience, one where they are seen, they feel understood, and supported in ways that maybe they have not been before. So, a key idea in relational psychotherapy is that the mind is not an isolated entity, but it is shaped through relationships and social interactions. So, for example, if someone grew up with an emotionally distant parent, they may unconsciously expect others to be unavailable, dismissive, leading to difficulties in forming close, kind of secure attachments with others. And in the therapy process, as the client and the clinician build trust, the client can then begin to experience a different kind of relationship, one that maybe challenges some of these old expectations, some of these old beliefs, but it really allows for a new way of relating. And this is where deep transformation happens, not just through intellectual insight, but through emotional connection and attunement. So, through relational psychotherapy, individuals begin to see the whys behind the emotional struggles and behavioral patterns, and not an isolated kind of personal flaw, but as a reflection of past relational experiences that can be reworked and can be healed. This approach integrates the best psychodynamic thought while acknowledging the deeply social nature of human beings, bringing us full circle from the ancient past to the modern era in our quest to understand the mysteries of the mind. Psychoanalysis and psychodynamic therapy offer more than just intellectual insights. They invite us into a profound journey of self-discovery. The unconscious mind holds the patterns, the wounds, the hidden motivations that shape our lives, often outside of our awareness, particularly our conscious awareness. But when we bring these patterns into consciousness, we may begin to make real lasting changes. And if this exploration resonates with you, I invite you to connect with me. I do work in California and Nevada, and that's where I'm licensed and that's where I see clients. So I can provide this relational psychodynamic therapy if you live in those states. And so if you are one of those individuals committed to a deep self-exploration and healing, therapy is not just about talking, it's about experiencing yourself in your way. Where else did you get to do that? What other relationships in the world do you get to honor yourself in that way? So when we first begin, I do want to talk a little bit about that. Many people may start off with weekly sessions, but those who commit to more frequent meetings, usually 2 to 4 times per week, are often surprised at the depth of transformation that unfolds. The more often we meet, the more opportunities there are to engage in the process actively, to recognize patterns as they emerge in real time, and to work through them dynamically. This approach is for individuals who are ready to become active, conscious participants in their healing and in their lives. So think of our work together as a dance between our egos. My ego will introduce itself to you, and in response, your ego will do all sorts of things, some playful, some resistance, oh, some sad, some excited, and at times even aggressive or agitated. This is the nature of the unconsciousness, the unconscious mind revealing itself over time as trust builds in the process. And as your ego learns to work with mine rather than against it, something fascinating happens. A third ego emerges, and that is the space between us where healing occurs. And in that space, unconscious wounds begin to unravel. Old relational patterns soften, and the mind opens to a new way of being. If you feel drawn to this journey, I welcome you to reach out. And whether you are looking for insight, transformation, or simply a deeper understanding of yourself, psychodynamic therapy offers a space to explore the mysteries of the mind with curiosity, courage, and compassion. So let's begin this beautiful dance together. Thank you for listening.